Hare Krishna, Shikhar Prabhu. Are we good to go?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, not able to see you Prabhuji.
No sound.
Yeah, you visible now. Yes.
Okay, great.
So Hare Krishna, welcome you all in the second last session of this series, Gita Wisdom, where why bad things happen to good people. So this is last topic which we're going to discuss. Now, without wasting any time, I'll hand over to Madan Sundar Prabhuji to take us through this important topic of this Gita Wisdom series. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this another topic, a very important topic. Why do bad things happen to good people? The last topic of this series of talk, what we call as Gita Wisdom. And thank you for joining us on Sunday evening, right? Today is Sunday. All right. So let's begin with prayer. If you know of this prayer, you can recite along with me, or else you can close your eyes, fold your hands, and take a deep breath. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatati Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gau Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So today's topic and the last topic of this Gita Wisdom series is titled as Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? Matter of fact is, or I should say rather, the reality of life is problems are faced by everyone. There's nobody who does not face his problem. Somebody may say, no, I'm the happiest and the richest person. I have everything. I have never faced a problem because of disease. I have no problem because of any other living entities. And I control the weather or the temperature of my room. I have everything perfect. Fine, even in that situation, yet we cannot avoid death. Everyone, one point of time in this creation, the rule of this creation is whatever is created has to be destroyed. Whatever is born has to die. Once upon a time, there was a lady living in a town, a young married lady who gave birth to a child. The child grew up, became few years old, and suddenly that child died because of some disease. The mother became so heartbroken. She was crying, and nobody could pacify her. And everyone thought that she would also die because she's crying, she's grieving so badly for the lost son or the lost child. So somebody in the town recommended her that there's a great sage or saint lives outside the village or the town. Please go and meet him. He is known as Buddha, the great enlightened being. You go and meet him, and we have heard he has a lot of mystical powers. He can probably bring your son back to life. Why don't you go and request him? The lady went up, the lady got up and went running to the hermitage of Buddha, and she went and approached him and told everything what had happened. And she requested, please help me. I cannot live without my child. You have to revive him. Buddha said, yes, I shall do it, what you ask for. However, before that, you have to bring Bhiksha, a charity for me. She said, yes, I will do whatever you say. Buddha said, please get me a palm full of rice. The lady said, yes, I'll do it right now. Buddha said, wait, go to that house, go to the house, find a house that has never seen any death. Find that house that has never seen death, and from that house, Bring this palm full of rice. Lady said, yes, that's very easy. I'll go right now, find a house in the town and bring it. And she went from door to door, society to society, neighborhood to neighborhood. And like this, she spent several hours of the day. In the end, she came empty handed. When she came empty handed, and then Buddha looked at her. By this time, her grief had disappeared. She had become more sober. And before Buddha could say anything, this lady said, I understood the lesson. My dear great sage, I understood the lesson that you wanted to teach me. And the lesson that you wanted to teach me is I could not find anyone who had not seen death in their house or in the family, which means death is inevitable, the problem is inevitable. The reality has to be accepted, not to go crazy about it. So the problem, the course problem statement here is yes, the bad things or the problem comes in everyone's life, but how do we respond to it? That's the second part of the discussion. So all of us, at least some point of time in our life, would have faced some challenges. Just like a student, some students studied very hard for their final exam, whereas others don't study that hard. However, they score far greater marks than the one who studied hard. Similarly, in the corporate life, some employees work very hard to get the promotion, but someone else gets promotion who had not worked hard. This kind of equations always happens in the life of a person. So it's a question for all of you. You may say yes or no. I hope chat box is enabled. Have you ever wondered why me? Why me? Why I have to suffer? Why I have to face challenges? Do I really deserve this? What did I do to face the challenges in my life? Who is responsible for it? Is it God or is it someone else? And do events takes place by chance? All this thing happening in my life, is it by chance or is someone responsible for it? Yes or no? How many of you have wondered like this? Well, I believe everyone would have wondered, at least, if not many, once upon a time in your life. And this particular question have rattled the minds of the great philosophers, the poets, the writers, the scientists, and the thinkers. And because of not having proper source of information, people have come to different conclusion time and again. And this is one problem from the beginning of the time people are not able to resolve on their own. To give you an example, one of the most famous character of Gita wisdom series, the most quoted character and the personality, great Charles Darwin. Of course, we didn't quote him in a good light. We kind of debunked his whole theory. So Mr. Charles, interestingly, the author of Origin of Species, who promoted atheism, God does not exist, things happen by chance, species evolved on their own, and so forth. Actually, before he wrote this Origin of Species book, before he came to his conclusions, hypothetical conclusion, very interesting to note that he was a devout Christian. He used to go to church every week, and he was literally a pastor or a promoter of Christianity or God consciousness. So what happened suddenly from theist, he became an atheist. He had a son who, because of cholera, died at an early age, and he could not digest or absorb the shock that he received upon seeing his son dying at such a young age. He became very confused, very bewildered, and began to wonder why a good person like me have to face such a sorrow? Why I have to see my innocent son die? I had been a good man all my life. I had always served others. I had served God. I used to go to church every week. I taught my family about Jesus, about God consciousness, about Christianity. Why me? And because he could not find an answer, he could not come to a conclusion. He did not have the right source of information. He came to only conclusion that many people come in their life and they face challenges, and that is, if God had to exist, he would have protected me because I was a devotee. Because I'm not protected, I had to also suffer, which means God does not exist. Otherwise, how is it possible? And this Charles Darwin became a number one atheist. Many examples are there. I just quote one or two examples. Another interesting example of a family living in a Scotland where a man worked very hard for a long time, earned a lot of wealth, and then he built a nice palace for himself, a nice palatial house for himself and for a family. And then, because he has worked most of his life, now when he retired, he thought, I want to take my whole family on a world voyage, on a trip, maiden trip to the whole world, to the different parts of the world. At that point of time, in the century or and the time scale, there was a ship that was built that was said to be the biggest ship of all time. In fact, the manufacturer gave a quotation or gave an advertisement in the newspaper then. It's a ship that even God cannot sink. And the tickets of the ship were very expensive, and this man purchased a ticket for all his family. Only 10 days were remaining for him to board the ship. Suddenly, 7 days before, one of his kids got bitten by a mad dog. Because one of the son got bitten by or a kid got bitten by a mad dog, now the Scotland government quarantined him and his whole family for 14 days, because of which he had to miss his journey. Have you ever had an experience, an incident in your life where you had planned your trip, you're very excited about your journey, and last minute your ticket didn't got confirmed, or maybe something else happened? How difficult it becomes to acknowledge that I cannot go now, I have to miss my trip. And something like that happened this time with his family too. He became very disturbed. Yes, happened due to Corona lockdown. Yeah, actually, we also missed out on our youth yatra. We were just supposed to go on. We were going, I believe, Jaipur, Rajasthan. We were going, and just 3 days before there was a lockdown declared. Anyways, so he was cursing. He said, "My dear Lord, what wrong did I do all my life? I lived a good man. I did pious activities. Today I want to take my family for a world trip. And why this incident had to happen? You are to be blamed. You are responsible." And after a few days, when the voyage began, after a few days, the news came, the breaking news, the unsinkable sank, and that was Titanic, where more than 1,800 people were killed, young, old, and most of them were rich aristocratic families from the different parts of the world. And when the news came to this man, a businessman of Scotland who was living in Scotland, a Scottish, when he got the news, immediately he changed his tone. My dear Lord, you're so kind. You're so magnanimous. You saved me and my whole family. However, those who lost their family members, they cursed the Lord. Why you had to do this to me? Why my brother, mother, father, sister, relative? Why they had to die? I like this. People and are not having proper knowledge. They keep on going and changing their, their understanding. And this Titanic incident led to what they call as confusion. Some people said, "Thank God, we were saved," and many blamed. So my question is God responsible for our distress or happiness? To give you a very simple example, there was a town where there lived a very rich jamindar. And this rich jamindar was very charitable. So he decided that every morning he'll get up, go onto the terrace of his building, and from there he would distribute different grains and different things in charity. He will throw it on the ground, people will come and pick it up. He began that exercise and he started throwing wheat, rice, ghee, all kind of different things for the people to come and accept. So people would come and people got to know, like this, at this particular area, when you reach there, you find all kind of food grains lying there, you can pick it up. So a large number of public began to come to that place. They will pick up and they'll go. In the beginning, they were very happy. Those who got ghee, those who got milk, those who got yogurt, those who got rice, pulses and whatnot, vegetables, they were very happy. However, one day, this rich Jamindar was very sad. He went and spoke to his wife. He said, "See, I have been serving all of them for so long. Despite, I giving them so much, now these men are complaining every day. See, I only got rice today. I wanted dal. The one who got rice, the one who got dal said, see, I wanted rice today because I had rice remaining from yesterday. I got dal. I didn't got what I wanted." In other words, the Jamindar said, now they're complaining. They're saying they're not getting what they wanted. And like that is the situation. And none of them have ever dared to look up and to see who is giving them. Despite receiving for nothing of their endeavor, they're still complaining. So the wife of the Jamindar said, "Don't worry, I'll give you a trick. I'll tell you something to do tomorrow. When you do so, from tomorrow onwards, they would look at you. And Jamindar followed the advice of the wife. Next morning, he began to throw something at them. As soon as he began to throw at the people, everyone looked up. Hey, you rascal, why are you throwing all this thing? And what did Jamindar did today? He started throwing bricks and the stones at these people. So when the bad things began to happen in their life, people immediately looked up. And when the things were happening good in their life, nobody looked up. Similarly, in our life, when everything is going great, we are flourishing, we are becoming successful, we are progressive in our life, generally people never say, my dear Lord, thank you. I never deserved it. It's all your kindness. However, when things doesn't go according to our will, and in fact, when things becomes reversed, we face reversals in our life, then people in the agnostic and the semi-theist category, they begin to blame the Lord. This is a question of everyone's life. This is a situation that all of us face at different junctions in our life. The question comes now, how do we reconcile and find an answer to this problem? Well, there is one literature, Hare Krishna, not getting sound. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji, loud and clear. I think it's a network issue with their side.
Okay. Hey, this Bluetooth is saying what you have to disable. That gets connected with the Bluetooth. It creates an interference. No, that started Bluetooth. Hare Krishna. Okay. It's something to do with our sound system here. Okay. What was I saying? So there is one literature, one book that has solution to all the problems of life, has all the answers to the unanswered questions. And we have already referred to such one book, which is called as Bhagavad Gita. And through this Gita Wisdom program, we have already found answers to some very, I would say, perennial questions and the important questions of life, like, does God really exist? Which we discussed already. Second session was, are Vedas factual or fictional? Who am I? One God, many God. And finally, coming to the last topic, why am I suffering? And we can find the answer once again in Bhagavad Gita for these questions. So Bhagavad Gita has more or less 5 major topics, beginning with Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. So we have already discussed about Ishvara Jiva in the previous sessions. And today and tomorrow, we're going to focus on the 3 remaining topics. And when we have understood these 5 subject matters, then we'll be in a situation to understand why do bad things happen to good people. In today's discourse or today's session, we'll be focusing on Prakriti, material nature. And tomorrow, we'll elaborate on Kala and Karma. So, Krishna is said to be Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. And so does a living entity. We are also spirit soul whose existence is also of Satchit Ananda. The question arises, then why are we suffering? Why are we suffering? The reason is we are all in this material world. This huge, massive creation of the Lord, humongous, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhu, mata sarvam pravate. Wherein Krishna says, I am the cause of the whole material and the spiritual world. If you take the measurement in terms of the proportion of the total Lord's creation, we'll find only 1/4 of the Lord's creation is this material world, or what we call as Bhautik Jagat. Whereas the 3/4 of the world, which means the majority, is the spiritual world. Even this material world, which is 1/4, as you see, is humongous, is unending, is massive. So what is the nature of this material world and the nature of the spiritual world briefly? Prakriti, the material nature, consists of millions of universes, and it's only 1/4 of the total creation. Material nature, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, verse number 15. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. We've already discussed about the nature of this world to be Dukhalayam and ashashvatam when we discussed about the topic, are Vedas factual or fictional? like that, where we discussed about real problems of life. What is a real problem? So we saw how everyone in this world have to suffer from birth, death, old age, disease, and so forth. Whereas Krishna says spiritual world is Vaikuntha. Kuntha means misery. Vaikuntha means without misery. It's a place of eternal happiness. And Krishna gives an introduction to spiritual world in 15th chapter, verse number 6, where Krishna says, Natadabhasyate suryo nashashankana pavaka yadgatva nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Hey Arjun, in that abode of mind called as spiritual world, Vaikuntha, there's no need for sun, there's no need for electricity, there's no need for moon. It is self-effulgent. Your desire, there is a place where our every desire is fulfilled, is a place of unending happiness. Whereas the material world, Krishna explains, is a place of dukkha and miseries. So let's talk about this material world. What is this material world all about? Before we get into the subject matter, let's hypothesize, let's assume the government of Maharashtra, well, I'm in Maharashtra right now, wherever you are, whichever part of the world, imagine the government of that place hires you as a city planner, and they give you the whole city and give you the task, plan out the city. You have to set up a whole new city now. So if you're a city planner, what all things would you like to have in that city? There are different things which we can think of. One is the recreations like theaters, stadium, of course, the healthcare, hospital, the places of worship, colleges, stadium, marketplaces, cricket grounds, roads, bridges, buildings, whatnot. But as we know of, like 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there are two kinds of living entities, divine and demoniac. So, and Krishna says, hey Arjuna, these two kinds of personalities are always existing, divine and demoniac. In that sense, in every society, at every place, you'll always find some people who do not want to follow the rules of the society. Even like living in a township, there are always some people who would just not follow the decisions of the township. So what to do with such people who are regular lawbreakers? Well, for that people, for such kind of notorious people, we need a place called as prison house. Why prison house? Because there are always certain criminal elements in the society. When you have criminals, we have two options to deal with them. The first option, jail them. Second option, shoot them. There is no third option. Shooting them is not the best option. Jailing them is still better because there is an opportunity to reform them. So the idea of jailing a person is to reform the person so he understands what he should not do, and he is given the right to continue to live his life. So when a person is sent to a jail, the purpose of jail is to reform, not to enjoy. So in jail, a person is provided with basic amenities, with basic facilities for accommodation and dining. Imagine if in a jail, a prisoner is provided with a 5-star living facility, an incredible dining facility where a 3 times a day waiter comes and knocks on the door and says, "My dear sir, how can I serve you?" If that would have been the case, where you have such a great, huge living room, I believe none of us, those you are staying or living in a 2 BHK, 3 BHK, 5 BHK, would prefer to live here, would prefer to live in the jail, isn't it? So that's the reason jail is not made a comfortable, is not to enjoy. Jail is provided with the basic minimum necessities for one to reform oneself, to understand that is not my place to live forever. Similarly, scriptures compare this bhautik jagat, the material world, to a prison house. Once again, the material world where you and I are living today is compared to a prison house. So what is the purpose of prison house? There are two purposes. One is punishment, and second is purification. Punishment for the lawbreakers, that's the reason they're sent to the prison house or the material world, and purification of doshas or faults within us because of which we ended up breaking the laws. So let's talk about purification, punishment first, and then we'll look at purification or what faults that we all have. Now, punishment, what kinds of punishment are given to all the living entities in the material world? There are 4 kinds of vyadhis or the miseries. You can say the birth, death, old age, and disease. Yes or no? Do we agree with this? I was just looking at the comment of somebody. Yes. So, prison house, punishment. Everyone have to face this, whoever we are. Now the question comes, some of you may wonder, if we are in a prison house, who is the jail keeper? Because every prison house have a jail keeper. So scripture says, so for this prison house called as material world, the jail keeper is Durga. The word Durga is very interesting. Even the best of the devotees of Durga do not know what's the meaning of word Durga. Now, what is Durga? Ga means gamana. Ga means to go. Dur means very difficult. So Durga, which means is very difficult to go away or to come out of the situation, is called as Durga in one sense. Now, there is also a Sanskrit word called as Durga. Durga. Durga means prison house. And that's how Durga, the caretaker of the prison house, becomes Durga. That's the meaning of the word Durga, Durga Devi. She is the jail keeper. She is the one who ensures whichever prisoner have come into this material world is not set free unless that person have definitely got reformed. And if the person is not willing to get reformed, Durga Devi, with her trident that she holds, that you all would have seen her in drawings, that trident represents 3 kinds of kleshas with which she pokes every living entity time and again. And this 3-pointed, the trident, the 3-pointed ends of it represents Adi Bhautika, Adi Devika, and Adi Atmika kleshas, with which Durga Devi constantly and consistently pinches or pokes every living entity. Like this, these are 7 kind of punishments which a person receives in this bhautic world or material world. Agreed? Yes or no? Do we agree? Do we on the same page? Yes, what scriptures are saying is indeed correct. Everyone have to face the suffering. Okay. Let's proceed ahead. So need of prison house is punishment and purification. So punishment, we are given this punishment, clear. Now talk about purification. What is wrong with us? What needs to be improved within us? That what needs to be purified within us? According to scriptures, we are the criminals. We have done something wrong because of which we are here. So we are in this material world because we are the criminals, we are the prisoners. So every living entity, scripture says, suffers from 6 kind of faults. Now, my question to all of you too is do you acknowledge these faults exist or not? I'm not saying all the 6. Do you acknowledge even at least one of the fault exists in people or not? Or in yourself? What are the 6 faults? Lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, illusion, mad, matsarya, and envy. Yes or no? These 6 things, have you experienced within yourself? Even one of it, if not all. Because we have these 6 faults, or some of the faults, whatever you can realize, the fact is that's the reason we have been put here. Which means the people in the spiritual world, they're completely purified or pure. They don't have any of these flaws or the faults. Therefore, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita introduces about the aspect or the science of yoga. The process of yoga, which establishes one's connection with the Supreme Lord, is the means of purifying oneself from these 6 anarthas at the fastest means, or the quickest means. So we'll discuss about that in a future session or in the Gita Essence program. Now let's continue with our discussion here. So what is the need of the prison house? This is what we discussed. Now my question to all of you is, what is the first thing done to the prisoner when he comes to the jail? When a prisoner is brought to the jail, the first thing done to him is his dress is changed. Okay, it's interesting. Looks like I'm wearing that dress right now. Because I'm just covering the face of the prisoner behind me. So the first thing which is done to the prisoner is change his clothes. So when we come to this world from the spiritual world, how our clothes are being changed? Padma Puran explains, Jalaja Navalakshani Sthavara Lakshavimshati Kramayo Rudrya Sankhya Pakshina Dashalakshanam Trimashal Lakshani Pashava Chatur Lakshani Manusha. And Padma Puran says there are 8.4 million or 84 lakh yoniyas or different types of bodies, which means the dresses which a living entity gets to wear according to his degree of punishment. If his crime is little lesser, then he gets a human body or a dress. If his crime is more fierce, then he gets an animal body. If his crime is more fierce than that, then he gets a body of some reptiles, insects, and whatnot. And if his crime is the worst case, then he's put into the body of what is being given here. Sthavara Lakshavimshati, Sthavara, which cannot be moved. Immovable living entity, which means plants, trees, bushes, cactuses, and whatnot. Jalaja Navalakshani, Jalaja means in water. In water, there are 9 lakh varieties of species. Sthavara, which means immovable, Laksha Vimshati, which means 20 lakh varieties of plants, trees, and bushes. Kramayo Rudra Sankhakya, Rudra means 11, 11 lakh varieties of reptiles, insects, and snakes. Pakshina means birds, Dasha means 10, Lakshanam means like 10 lakh varieties of birds. Trimshal means quadrupeds, the not Trimshal, sorry. Pashavaha means four-legged. Trimishal means 30. Trimishal Lakshani means 30 lakh varieties of four-legged animals. And Chatur Lakshani, 4 lakh of Manusha, like Kinnaras, Devatas, the Vanaras, the Gandharvas, the Rakshasas, Bhuta, Pret, Vishas. So many varieties of that are there. So this is the number that comes up. And when you add them all, it becomes 84 lakh or 8.4 million species. This is what our Vedic scripture says is the different kinds of varieties of living forms all over the creation. So the essence is, if we don't take advantage of the human form of life, or else if we don't go back to Godhead, we have to continue to take birth in these varieties of living forms. And their numbers are huge. Look at the plants and the trees. There are 20 lakh varieties of it. So if one once misses out on the opportunity given in the human form of life, can you imagine for 80 lakhs lifetimes, he would have to continue before he can again get the human form of life. 11 lakh varieties of reptiles, insects, so much vast population of these varieties of species. And these all represents living entities, jivatmas within them. And 10 lakh varieties of birds, species of birds. Of course, I cannot have picture of everything. I just put some pictures for us to just bring out the importance of the human form of life. And human form or the species is the lowest, only 4 lakh. And 30 lakh species of four-legged animals. And then finally, 4 lakh varieties of humans. And these varieties of human species are based on level of consciousness. That's how they get different levels of bodies within the human species in that manner. So when a person comes to a prison house, according to his crime or according to his stay in this world, how he behaves, if he gets reformed, then he gets promotion. If he doesn't reforms, if he does not act properly, then he's sent down into the lower grades of life. So question comes, what are people doing to get out of the prison in general? What is in general human race is doing? Is there any knowledge given to any one of us in any of the schools and colleges where we study the importance of coming out of this prison house? Actually, people are just trying to move from one class of prison cell to another class of prison cell. What does it mean? It means transmigration. Like there are different cells for different varieties of crimes or criminals. Somebody is a politicians sent behind for certain crime or for certain punishment is given a certain variety of kind of a facility. Somebody is a pickpocketer, is have a certain type of a prison house. Somebody is a terrorist, serious criminal, is put into a dungeon where he cannot even see a sunlight for days, years, or all his life, like that. So this is what it means. A class for humans, as I already explained, and down the line, trees, the living entities in the trees said to be receiving the severest of the punishment because their consciousness is very shunted. They cannot feel and experience anything, and they have the least opportunity to come out of this whole, the prison of this material world. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Hey Arjun, Brahma Bhuvanaloka Punaravartana Arjuna Mamupetya tu Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. Hey Arjun, this material world is nothing but a place of suffering. But whoever attains to my abode, he never comes back to this place of suffering again. So you might wonder that what we have discussed so far is that we are living in a prison house. All right, prison house, we are given punishment, understood. We have certain flaws which we need to be purified, understood. We are given dresses, different varieties of dress, understood. But you might wonder, I don't see a prison house. Where are the walls? I don't see the prison walls. Where are the chains? Nothing is tying me up. I'm a free bird. I mean, free human being. I can walk anywhere, whatever I want to do. Well, scriptures explain we are in a prison house which is without walls. So question comes, oh really? Then I can run away very easily if there are no walls. Well, all of us are bound 24/7 in this prison house or the material world by a concept, a very brilliant concept of Bhagavad Gita called as the modes of material nature. There are modes of material nature which ties every living entity, makes a living entity as a puppet. Prakriti kriyamanani guna karmani sarvashahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Krishna says, third chapter, 27th verse. Everything is done by the Prakriti, but a living entity under the influence of false ego thinks, I am the doer. No, you're not the doer, you're just a puppet. The puppeteer is holding the reins in his hand and is making us dance. Now you might wonder, is it true? Yes, it's very true. This concept of modes of material nature that Krishna explains is so profound that it can help you understand why you act, why you like something, and why you dislike something. You can understand why a person behaves in a certain manner. And you can also know, once you understand why as a reason behind for your behavior and for your reasoning, for your liking and disliking, now you know how to change it also. And that is all explained in Bhagavad Gita in 14th, 17th, and 18th chapter. Just like a ship which is anchored by a rope cannot move, similarly, we, how powerful we may be, as long as we are tied with these modes of material nature, we cannot, in true sense, become a free bird. Krishna says, Sattvam Rajas Tama iti, these modes of material nature are called as Sattva, Raja, Tama, which means goodness, passion, and ignorance. And whenever a living entity enters into this prison house, as soon as he enters into the material world, the living entity is entrapped by these three gunas of sattva, raja, and tama guna. So question comes, how are we bound in this prison house by the ropes of sattva, raja, and tama guna? Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, Krishna explains everything about our existence, which means our liking, our thinking, our taste, our style of speaking, our style of walking, the kind of dress we wear, the kind of music we hear, the kind of food we like, how we talk, how we respond. Everything is influenced by these modes. Therefore, it becomes very, very important to understand what are the natures or the features or the qualities of these three modes, and then to understand in which mode am I situated, and then find a way. You don't have to find a way. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita how to make a progression from the lower mode to a higher mode. So these three modes acts like three chains which ties a living entity or the jivatma into this world, and then it chokes the person, or it prohibits a living entity from truly enjoying that, to fully realize the nature of the soul, which means ananda. So these three modes prohibits that. So the question is, let's compare Sattva-guna to a gold chain, Rajoguna to a silver chain, and Tamo-guna to iron chain. If I ask you, which chain would you like to be tied up with? What would be your answer? Would you like gold chain to be tied up with, or the iron chain, or the silver chain? Which chain would you prefer to be tied up in the material world with, or in the prison house? Okay. So no chain. Thank God. I'm glad we are on the same page with that. Yes, chain is a bondage, so why to be tied up? So we don't want to be tied up with any of the chain. So let's take a look at this the nature of these sattva, raja, tamagun, and then we'll, if time permits, a little bit speak about how to break these chains forever. Or else I'll give you homework. I believe all of you would have a copy of Bhagavad Gita. How to break these chains forever, because none of you want to be trapped by a chain. The answer is given by Lord Shri Krishna in chapter 14th, verse number 26 and 27. Precisely verse number 26. Once again, that's a homework verse. I will not speak about that verse now. I would like you to go and open your copy of Bhagavad Gita and read it. By the way, all of you have received your copy of Bhagavad Gita? I believe so. If not, please contact with the host immediately. The books have been already shipped long ago. You should have received by now. So, what was I saying? Text number, the chapter number 14, verse number 26 is what you want to read and find out the answer for yourself. How Krishna says we can set ourselves free from this modes. So let's take a look at the qualities of these chains, sattva, raja, and tamagun. So people in the mode of goodness, where you have a predominance of sattva gun, how do they behave or act? These are the people who are always seeking after knowledge, who are always searching for answers. Who am I? Does God exist? In that sense, they live a life free from sin. They're good and do good to others, is what their philosophy of life. They are content and satisfied with their present condition and have a sense of happiness and well being. They're happy, they're content, they're blissful in their life. That's the meaning of this. People in the mode of goodness. Whereas people in the mode of passion, they have unlimited desires. They're full of greed. That's what mode of passion indicates. For those who have Rajoguna predominantly, for them, they have unlimited desires. Others' achievements make them sad. People in whom mode of passion is predominant have a very strong sexual urge or attraction for opposite sex. They seek personal gains from the Lord. In other words, they worship Lord not with the aim to please Him and serve Him. They do a business dealing with Him. I worship you, and in return, you should give me these favors or fulfill my such and such desire, is what these people in mode of passion represent. Just to let you know, these modes, sattva, raja, tamagun, are there, all three, within every living entity. However, let's focus on human being or human race. We have all these three. However, one of these modes is predominant, which always takes precedence above other modes, and that is what defines our personality. That's the point here. So people in the mode of passion does not mean does not have goodness and ignorance, which means the predominance of passion. That is how a person acts. What about the person ignorance? This is one of the very unique character and extraordinary personality, which represents tamoguna. Probably you can see him in the photo, how he looks like. So first sign of a person in tamoguna and ignorance is madness. What is the meaning of madness? Such a person cannot know, does not even have a sense enough to know what is right, what is wrong. He considers right to be wrong, wrong to be right, is what is the quality of person in mode of ignorance. For him, Sleeping is the greatest pleasure. For him, intoxication is the greatest pleasure. For him, suffering is a pleasure. For mode of goodness person, what he considers to be suffering is pleasure for a person in mode of ignorance. Whereas for mode of goodness, what considers person considers to be happiness for a person in mode of ignorance is suffering. This person in Tamaguna is highlighted or highlights laziness. Second, he loves to sleep. These are the people who just cannot wake up in the morning. One of the features of Tamaguna people are they stay up whole night partying out and they go off to sleep, and actually people are supposed to get up. These are some of the symptoms. So have you seen such kind of people in the world around? In other words, let me say this way: do you see practical implication of the subject matter of modes of material nature? Do you see that actually everyone is now influenced by modes of material nature? Actually, does it feel like that? In fact, everyone is influenced by modes of material nature. Maybe somebody is influenced predominantly by goodness. Someone maybe could be by passion. Majority by ignorance. You know, I'm in a place called Hinjawadi, the corporate world. I know what happens around in the society. Uh, Generally, I don't need an alarm to get up because at 3:30, 4 o'clock is the peak noise which are coming from the neighboring apartments where the boys and girls are partying out. And that's the climax of their party. Thanks to the lockdown period, none of the youth are here now. So I have to again use alarm clock to get up. Okay, jokes apart, but that's the point. To give you a very simple example, there were three famous brothers. There are three famous brothers in the history who we know of: Ravana, Vibhishan, and Kumbhakarna. And these three personalities predominantly represents one particular mode of consciousness. So here my question to all of you: you know Ravana, very lusty, very greedy, very angry. So which mode does this Ravana predominantly indicates? Goodness, passion, or ignorance? What does he indicate? Had a great sexual craving, greedy, lust, and whatnot. Okay, let's go to Kumbhakarna. He loved to sleep. Well, he was blessed to be, but whatever it is, he slept. He slept for 6 months, woke up for one day, and again he will sleep for 6 months. And whenever he will wake up for one day, he will eat the whole village entirely, literally. You know. So Kumbhakarna, what more does he indicate? And Vibhishan, who lived a pious life, who chanted the names of the Lord, who was always a well wisher of his brother and always gave him the right advice, that is mode of goodness. We'll speak on this subject matter at length in detail when we talk about when we'll be discussing our Gita essence subject matter, chapter 14, 17, 18. In particularly in our discussion in chapter 14, we'll be talking about leadership qualities, how a leader or manager in Satvaguna, Rajaguna, and Tamaguna acts, and how a person makes a decision, how a decision making gets influenced. So those subject matter we'll discuss then, because right now we can't go into too much details. Not only this Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun also affects the time, as it affects everything, affects the time. Certain time of the day have a predominance of particular modes. For example, early morning hours have a predominance of Sattvaguna. As soon as there is a sunrise until the sunset is Rajaguna, and after sunset begins Tamaguna. How many of you remember that your parents telling you, please get up early, and early morning hours to study are the best morning hours. If you get up early and study, you will learn quickly. How many of you remember this? How many of your parents said that? At least I remember my mother and father would often tell me. And the only time I got up early in the morning was not to study, was to play cricket. In the summer season, our friends, all of us would start playing cricket as early as 5 a.m. in the morning. And that's the only time I ever got up without alarm clock. So, at least some determination I had for something. So, yes, you all remember, isn't it? The early morning hours, we know of this in our own traditional culture, although the science has not been discussed so much. As soon as the sunrise happens, you will see people begin to become active. They begin to run around, the car traffic and vehicular traffic and whatnot. That means passion. Now the workday begins. And after the sunset, it's time to take rest. Well, it's a different story. These days, people don't take rest after sunset. For them, it's a morning. another new day begins after sunset. But actually, this is what tamoguna is, late night. Three modes. Not only this, the kind of food we eat, and not only the kind of food we eat, even the foods are divided according to the modes, the quality of the food and the nature of the food. For example, another thing, if you want to increase sattva guna, we have to take more association of the things in sattva guna. If we consume the food in sattva guna, if we do spiritual activity in the early morning hours where the sattva guna is prominent, then we'll cultivate sattva guna. So like this, we need to understand where and how we can access sattva guna the most. And when we take advantage of that, then we cultivate sattva guna within us. Let's quickly take a look at foods in the modes of goodness, passion, ignorance. I'll skip reading the Sanskrit because our time is, I believe, up. Is that correct? Oh, we have 5-6 minutes more to go. So, what is the food in the mode of goodness? Krishna says in the 17th chapter, the food that increases lifespan, by which the heart becomes purified, gives strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Foods which are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the mind and senses, and particularly to the heart, is said to be the food and goodness, which means vegetarian diet, fruits, vegetables, leafy vegetables, and these all things are said to be sattva guna. Not too spicy, not too dull, but a balanced spices with that is called sattva guna. Freshly cooked. Now, what is rajoguna? The food in rajoguna. How many of you have an experience where you've eaten something and when you eat suddenly, your eyes begin to flood and your cheeks get wetted? How many of you have that experience when you ate something and suddenly every pore of your body erupt with water and you begin to sweat profusely? How many of you have that experience? Particularly if you go to a place called as Andhra Pradesh, because I lived for more than 4 years, around 4 years in South India. And Andhra Pradesh, I mean, nothing against anyone, but I'm just saying they eat quite spicy and hot food. Even their simple rice could make my hairs stand erect, and every pore would flood out with water. So, what is the food in the mode of passion? Refers to something very hot, very spicy, which causes distress, misery, or disease. These foods are bitter, too sour, too salty, very hot, pungent, dry, and burning. In other words, this kind of food leads to disease, and it causes, pain in your throat, pain in your belly. The gastric begins to happen. That's said to be food in the mode of passion. So, mode of passion agitates the mind. See, if you eat food in the mode of passion, be sure then you are cultivating passion. Rajaguna is going to make you sexually agitated, is going to make you to have more craving, more greedy, more envious. These are all interlinked. So you have to connect that. You have to understand the point. Although I'm just giving you a synopsis here. So what is a food in ignorance? All canned foods, stored foods, even the vegetables. If it is cut and stored for days, it is considered food in ignorance. The food that are prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten is said to be in tamoguna. Even the vegetarian diet, which is cooked 3 hours before and consumed after that, is in tamoguna. Any stale food, non-vegetarian item, decomposed, putrid, tasteless, all these are said to be the food in ignorance, which in return makes a person crazy and where he loses the power of discrimination, even to understand what is right and wrong. So, like this, in other words, the food affects our consciousness. And in another direction, if you look at it, to the kind of food we are attracted, to the kind of food you are attracted indicates that you have the predominance of that mode. If you're attracted to sattvic food, juicy, freshly cooked vegetarian diet, not too hot, not too sour, then you have a predominance of sattva guna. If you like too hot, too spicy, too bitter, although be a vegetarian diet, that's rajoguna. And if you like non-vegetarian item, is that what you consume, then you have the predominance of tamoguna. And not only food, similarly, by your liking and disliking of the kind of music you hear, also indicates what mode of consciousness are prevalent in you. If you like to hear bhajans, if you like to hear country music, if you like to hear Vedic hymns, if you like to hear the sound of the nature, then that's mode of goodness. If you like to hear to sensual songs, any Bollywood and Hollywood song, forget Hollywood, at least Bollywood song, at least they have some lyrics. So any sensual song, all the songs are about male and female relationship and all that. So any sensual, which is mode of passion, the sensuality, which increases sensuality, agitation of mind, is said to be mode of passion. You know, the rock bands, the rock music, this is all mode of passion, disturbs you, agitates you. Similarly, music is in tamoguna, which drives you crazy, increases sleepy or laziness and all that. So that's the whole idea about the music. Krishna speaks about charity also. All this subject matter we'll take at detail later on. So point is, by understanding the modes, we can understand our nature. Once you understand the concept of mode of matter nature, each one of us can write our own autobiography. We can give a complete, you don't have to go to an astrologer to tell you about your future. Once you understand the modes of matter nature, you know about your future. Not only of the future of this life, you can very easily understand what would be your next destination as a living being if you understand what is a prominent mode that we have. Krishna says, acts according to the modes. Hey Arjuna, every living entity in this material world thus is compelled to act according to the modes he has acquired. Our response today determines our future. Our response today is influenced by the predominant mode of consciousness that we have cultivated by our regular actions. In essence, the conditioned soul in this world, to give you the summary of the discussion, all living beings in the material world are conditioned by the three modes. The soul comes in contact with a particular mode as soon as it enters the material world and gets conditioned by it. We seek happiness on the material platform according to the modes we are conditioned. Where Vibhishan loved chanting the names of the Lord according to mode of goodness, where Kumbhakaran enjoyed sleeping because of the influence of mode of ignorance, and Ravana enjoyed exploiting and fulfilling his craving or desires, which is as a result of mode of passion. So similarly, our happiness, the type of happiness is determined by the influence of modes of consciousness on us. We are forced to act helplessly according to the impulses born of the modes of nature. That's the whole point. Just like Ravana, Vibhishan tried explaining Ravana so much, but Ravana could not understand it at all, or he didn't understand it at all. Similarly, Kumbhakaran, why? Because his lifestyle was of mode of passion and tamoguna. So he could not be changed. So although he knew right and wrong, he was explained by Vibhishan, but he could not go against it. And similar question Arjuna asked in third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Atha kena prayuktayam papam charati purushaha. My dear Lord, by what one is impelled to commit sinful activities, although he does not want to do it. To give you a simple example, let's say a smoker. He's been diagnosed with a lung cancer. A doctor has warned him not to smoke even a single cigarette anymore. Yet, when this person sees a smoke or a cigarette, he becomes so attracted and attached to it, he ends up smoking. So Arjuna asks, by what is one impelled to commit an act, although he doesn't want to do it? And Krishna says, it's all because of Rajaguna and Tamoguna. Because when you're in Rajaguna and Tamoguna, our ability to make decisions is very limited. In Tamoguna, the person acts entirely on impulses, which means it's an animalistic platform. There is no thinking involved there. In Rajaguna, there is some thinking involved, but still the impulses take a predominance. Whereas in goodness, thinking factor is thinking is very much involved, and person has a control on his or her life. That's the whole point about the modes of material nature. Thus, our pure spiritual nature is perverted by the impure desires born of the three modes. Every soul is pure, and thus desires are pure. But these desires become impure by the contact of this modes of material nature. In this way, the soul is forced to take birth in the material world again and again, being trapped by the modes of material nature. In essence, if we want to gain freedom from this prakriti or dukhalayam, we have to understand how to free ourselves from the clutches of modes of material nature. And once we free ourselves from the clutches of modes of material nature, then Durga Devi would give us a red carpet welcome to Vaikuntha. And how to do so is the answer given in the 14th chapter, verse number 26. I would request our host Shikarpu to write down this verse number in the chat so everyone knows. Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Some frequently asked questions. I'll just take 3 questions here on the modes of material nature. How are we bound by these modes? We are bound by these modes because of our own desire and free will. We have chosen to be bound by them. If you make a decision to set yourself free, you can set yourself free. Just like once a king was, he was suffering, he was in great trouble and anxiety, he was searching for somebody who can help him. He called for great pandits, but nobody could help him. And one day one sage came, and when he heard the king is suffering because he's having so many challenges in life, this priest or this sadhu went into his palace and he said to the king, I can help you out. King said, yes, please help me. And Sadhu asked, where is your garden? Private garden. And the king said, my private garden is this way. And as soon as the king told him, the Sadhu started running. And he went running into the private garden of the king. And king is shocked. And king, along with his soldiers and ministers, started running behind the Sadhu. What's going on? Why is he running in my private garden? And suddenly the Sadhu went there and he saw one tree and clasped the tree with both his hands and started screaming, leave me, leave me, leave me. And the king was shocked. He said, what mental fellow is this? First of all, he started running. Now he's holding a tree and saying, leave me, leave me, leave me. And king said, you are crazy. What's wrong with you? After a while, Sadhu stopped and he looked around and he said, my dear king, you are like this person who is holding on to his attachments, onto his desires, and then you are saying, leave me, leave me, leave me. It's up to you. If you want to set yourself free from this modes of material nature, Lord Shri Krishna have already given us the knowledge of it in Bhagavad Gita. The decision has to start from us. I have to make an endeavor. Are the modes of passion, ignorance bad? No, they have their own utility. The passion allows us to exert ourselves, to work harder, whereas ignorance allows our body to recuperate, give the necessary test. The problem becomes when we overuse it, when we get over caught up in passion and ignorance. And who controls the 3 modes of material nature? None other than our Durga Devi. It is Durga Devi who is the master of the modes of material nature. And through this whole creation and her laws in this creation, our law of karma and the law of kala, which we'll be discussing tomorrow, and the punishment that she gives us, her whole idea is to quickly purify a living entity to send us back to spiritual kingdom, back home, back to Godhead. And with that, we come to the conclusion of our first today's topic on this Prakriti, wherein we saw the following things. Where the Prakriti or material world is compared to a prison house, and here in this material world, every living entity is sent for the purpose of punishment, then for the purpose of purification, and when a living entity comes, he's asked to change his costume. We are given 8.4 million species worth option, and we all are tied with the 3 chains of the modes of material nature. And that is how scriptures declare this material world to a prison house. We are here to serve our punishment, and we are here to become free from the prison house, not to remain forever in the prison house. And that is what Lord Shri Krishna educates all of us through the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, that material world is not the permanent place. It is a temporary place. Your happiness lies not here. Your happiness lies in the spiritual world. With this, we come to the conclusion of today's topic on Prakriti, the material world. Tomorrow, when we meet, we'll be talking about the second subject matter, which is Kala and Karma. And then, with the conclusion of it, we'll take the subject matter. Why do bad things happen to good people? With this, we come to the conclusion, and thank you for joining us for today's discussion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for a very interactive, very interesting and important session of this Gita wisdom. We have a lot of queries today, and I wanted to move more interactive. So I have asked all audience to on their video and we'll go it sequentially. So I have noted down some of the questions during the session, and we'll go ahead. Okay. So the first one is from Shantanu Kaushik. If you're still there, can you please switch on your video and go ahead with the question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question is like in various spiritual discussion, it is said that spiritual world is a image of a material world is a image of spiritual world, a tree, and there are we hear examples like even the Indraji is also feeling sometimes jealousy whenever some person is trying to get his abode or trying to do some tapasya. There is sometimes we see in lots of serials that his abode shakes whenever any tapasya is being done. So simple my question, like, do we have the power as a simple human being to overcomes the desire of lust, greed, and when can we think that we have overcome it? Will it be again be tested by the god again and again?
So, if I understood your question correctly, I'll just quickly paraphrase. You started with some discussion about different scriptures, then you spoke about Indra, and at the end, you were making a point about, do I have the freedom and the ability to control or to rise above the faults like Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, right?
Yes,
In
sir.
essence, you are asking, can we ever get freedom from these defects or the faults that we have? Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can, because that's not our actual original nature. It's just a temporary nature that we have accepted upon ourselves, on our consciousness. So, just like, imagine you have a pimple on your face. There are different ways of treating that pimple. Go to an allopathy doctor, he'll give you a cream. Apply a cream, and he tells you when you wake up in the morning, there won't be any pimple. Great. You wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, there's no pimple here. But you look carefully, the pimple have shifted from here to this cheek. You've got a pimple here now. So that is called as allopathy treatment. Definitely cured one, but came from somewhere else. But you go to Ayurvedic doctor, he tells you the problem is in blood. Your blood is impure. You need to purify your blood. Take to this blood tonic, and then your disease will go away. So similarly, the problem is there, no doubt about it. But the yoga, the science of yoga, which Krishna declares or which Krishna gives through the scripture, is the means of purifying our consciousness. As it is said, association is contagious. Jaisa sang, vaisa rang, they say in Hindi. So when we associate with Lord through the process of yoga, then a person gradually becomes purified. When we associate with saintly people, then we become purified. When we read Vedic literatures regularly, then our consciousness becomes purified. So, what we associate with is what we predominantly become. Association is of two types: association of person and association of information. As much as careful we have to be of the association of person, I would say in present day, we have to be triply more conscious of association of information. We're living in a day and time where we are overloaded with information explosion. What you see, what you hear on the social media platform to the internet, TV, what you watch in the movies and whatnot can immediately corrupt your mind if the information that you're receiving is not pure in its content. So that's the whole thing. You have to have a saintly association. You have to replace your information that you're receiving to the saintly information, the divine information. Replace it to the reading of Vedic literatures, hearing of Krishna Katha, things like that. Gradually, you will find yourself becoming purified of these things, these six enemies. By the way, is a wonderful question that our Shantanu was asking. I was thinking, I don't know if I told all of you, I do a series of talks on a topic called as mind management. A couple of years ago, I designed the series of topic where are 5 topics, which is a technical subject matter, but again, I try to mix it with examples and stories for that, where we do topics like Kabhi Khushi, Kabhi Gum, mind management, eternal enemy, cultivating tolerance, power of habits like that, which is entirely based on Bhagavad Gita and a particular section of Srimad Bhagavatam. So because I remember of this topic because you're talking about the question how to purify ourselves. So in this topic, we go into the details of different yoga practice, how one particular anga, limb of a yoga, purifies one certain activity. So this is what I was thinking to have as a next subject matter, not the next, but next to next, which means in 2021, because this whole month is packed. So when we begin our journey in Jan 21, I was thinking rather than going in detailed study of Bhagavad Gita, maybe we can have that mind management course or the series of program before we decide something else. Generally, I would do it because I do this course on the whiteboard. I write a lot. But now I have started to use technology. I realize my laptop also has a whiteboard. So I have a marker, I can write and draw it. So I was thinking of that directions. Anyway, so I hope you got the answer now, Shantanu, huh?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
By the way, how many of you would be interested in this subject matter of mind management?
Prabhuji, I'll be interested.
Yeah, you have to type in the yes, so I get to see, or you give me a thumbs up. I can see you all on the screen, something. All right. Yes, what's next? Is Shikhar Prabhu there? Shikhar Prabhu, do we have someone else with a question?
Yes, Prabhuji. The next question is from Kanika. Kanika, can you go ahead with your question? Hare Krishna, do we have Kanika on the line?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu. Okay, Mata, can you go ahead with your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, my question is that we discussed about three gunas, goodness, ignorance, and
Passion.
passion. So I wanted to know, while listening to your sessions, I have realized that, a person can undergo a lot of changes during this lifetime with the learning, like the learning that is happening right now. For example, if I take my own example, so when I retrospect, so I feel that there has been a lot of growth. So is it possible to strengthen one of the gunas and get rid of, other defects that we realize that we have?
Yes, yes, very much. I kind of gave you the answer for that. I didn't elaborate it on it. I gave you as a homework to read 14th chapter, verse number 26 and 27. That answer, because you've asked a question, I'll give an answer for that now. I kind of gave an answer to previous, our Shantanu had asked a question also on association. So when we associate with the Lord is situated in what is called as pure goodness. So when we associate with the Lord, how do we associate with the Lord? Through the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we chant this holy names of the Lord systematically as what scriptures ask us to do it, when we do so regularly, consistently, you'll feel an incredible transformation within yourself. When we read Lord's wisdom, like Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, then you cultivate knowledge. It is knowledge which gives faith. When you have faith, you become determined to take association of the Lord and the devotees. Got the point? So knowledge, cultivating knowledge is very important. So this becomes a process. And when we do so, and when we understand the subject matter of mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, then you know what needs to be avoided, what needs to be accepted, what food do I need to intake, what food need to be avoided, what kind of lifestyle I should be living, and what kind of lifestyle I should be avoiding. When you become conscious, when you have a guidance for it, you will find this transformation. I mean, I'll tell you, with my experience of life, with my experience of life in general, and with my experience of life as a spiritualist, I found Srila Prabhupada's contribution for this reason to be incredible. Srila Prabhupada, the founder, he made this whole wisdom so easy and so simple and so easily transformative which was so difficult earlier to decode, have become so easy in just a few days of association, a few sessions of discourses. We can find great wisdom in such a short span of time. Whatever examples we try to quote is what something we learned from Prabhupada or from other seniors of ours. It's not that it's a figment of our mind. But that's the beauty that Srila Prabhupada presented it so simply that nobody can miss it out. And Prabhupada created a lifestyle also for us for that purpose. He gave us a lifestyle. And when you take to that lifestyle, your heart and your life will transform. So I don't want to speak on everything right now because we have all kinds of audience. So tomorrow is the last session. Day after tomorrow is a off, a 1 day off before we begin our Gita Essence program. So I would like to invite all of you for the day after tomorrow's session, what I would call as a bhakti life. It's just an additional talk we'll have. It's not part of our scheduled program. I thought I'll have that program, what we'll call as a bhakti life, where I'll speak for half an hour and tell you what bhakti life is all about. What is a bhakti lifestyle? What lifestyle Srila Prabhupada gave us? How we should be living our life? I'll introduce you to all that, and then we'll have question answer. And then based on that session, those who would like to stay in touch regularly, then we can create a system of a mentor here. We connect you with a mentor, and then you become progressive that way. Because some of you may be able to continue with us day after tomorrow also, or maybe some of you may get busy. And tomorrow, or maybe day after tomorrow, could be the last session we might be interacting. So at least we'll have that session to let you know, wherever you are, what is this bhakti life that Srila Prabhupada gave us, with which transformation becomes very easy. Is that all right?
Yes. Can I come across with one more query?
All right.
Yeah. Actually, I have studied in a RA Samaji school, the Anand Anglo-Vedic school. So I wanted that you put some light on that also, because we were discussing about various faiths and religions, but you did not touch upon that. And in my own family, so my mother or my father, they have not believed in Murti Puja.
That's what Arya
And
Samaj
I came
represents.
across this. Yes. So although and I came across this session, just accidentally, as I was thinking that Bhagavad Gita is also telling the way of life. That was the only motive I had, and I thought that I should read it. And whom should I connect, because it's something that you need help with. I cannot just go on and make my own interpretations out of it. So, and I don't know how it happened that this session came across, and I definitely went for it. So I need some clarity on it. I like comparing Sanatan Dharam with Arya Samaj faith.
Is this your first session today, or you have been attending?
No. It's not my first session.
Okay. So you have attended previous sessions also.
The question that is arising is that if we are good humans, we believe in these virtues.
No, I understood the question.
But why do we have to preach a single entity for it? Like Krishna, as you said, is the Lord.
That's the second question now. The first question was a little different about what Arya Samaji stands for, and Arya Samaji versus Sanatan Dharma. Now, this is a follow-up question. I'm just asking, did you attended previous session, God exists, all that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's come back to your first part of the question about Arya Samaj and Sanatan Dharma. See, Arya Samaj, to put it very simply, they did not wholeheartedly accepted scriptures, nor wholeheartedly rejected scriptures. They kind of find themselves in the middle of it. Now, only God knows what they follow in that sense. Now, what they follow definitely is yajna. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yajna is the sum and substance of Arya Samaj. Yajna is what they consider their deity. No event can be successful if there is no yajna. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, what is there? Now, yajna and yajna Raj. Vishnu is called yajna Raj. The benefactor of all the yajnas is Vishnu. And any yajna begins with the mantra has Om. It all begins with the chanting of Om. Om refers to Vishnu. You'll read about this Omkara in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna explains that Omkara, the sound of Om, is I. And he gives 3 definitions of it, of the Omkara. We'll see that in the 17th chapter later on. Now,
Okay.
Arya Samaji, as I said, again, what is the foundation of their faith? We have to have something as a foundation. For us, the foundation is scriptures. For us, the foundation is Bhagavad Gita. We just read and saw verses from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna clearly declares who is he. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not only he declared, Arjuna said to Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord, I don't say that. Even the great sages like Narada, Vyasadeva, Asita, Devala, they all have declared to you to be the Supreme Personality. Now, was Krishna and Arjuna real or not? We also established that. They're real characters. Vedas are real, the history of India, the Bharat is real, which means Krishna is for real. Krishna is a person, and that person is not an ordinary person, but the supreme person. And Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter 15th verse, Vedaischa sarve aham eva vedyo. I have given all these Vedic scriptures. And in that Vedic scriptures, there is a discussion at length. The various scriptures within the scriptures which talks about the importance of deity worship. Now, deity worship was not only being done in Kali Yuga, deity worship was there in Dwapara Yuga, deity worship was there in Trayata Yuga. When Lord Ram was there, when Lord Ram had given his own deity, there are examples of his, to his devotees. Similarly, when Dwapara Yuga was there, deity worship was there then also. Even when Siddhartha was born, in what we know as Magadha or Bihar, the Bihar-Nepal border, even his family was worshipper of Lakshmi Narayan. Deity worship had always been there. Now suddenly, 2000 years ago, this Christianity begins. Not exactly 2000 years ago, the number is wrong. They say it like that, so let's take it for granted. Let's not get into details of it. 1300 years ago, Islam arose. So 2000 years ago, more or less, Abrahamic faith began. And the foundation of Abrahamic faith is no deity worship, which they call as idols. Now, what is the problem with idols? Idols are idols, but what's the problem with deities? Because they don't consider the Lord has form. They consider Lord to be formless. Now, my question to it, all respects to them, what is their consideration? How does their consideration matters? Because Prophet Muhammad or even Jesus Christ had said, the audience to whom we were speaking were not qualified to receive the whole wisdom. Yes or no? We already saw that. If the audience was not qualified to receive the whole wisdom, if that audience began to tell us that the deity worship is not authorized, deity worship is not allowed, what right do they have when their founders, when their messenger told that the audience is not qualified to receive the whole wisdom? So what was given to them was not the complete wisdom. Where does the complete wisdom comes? Vedic scriptures. Whatever is given to them is found as a subset of Vedic scriptures. In Vedic scripture, deity worship is duly established. So the point is, what we accept and reject, we have to find out what is the source of knowledge. If you accept Vedic scripture is a source of knowledge, it reconciles everything. But we doubt Vedic scriptures and we put faith on a person, then the problems in our life begin. The faith should not be in a person, the faith should be in the scriptures. And then faith can be in a person who aligns with himself with the Vedic scriptures. In fact, there is a shloka which says in Vedic scriptures, if an incarnation of God is against the Vedic scriptures, then that incarnation of God can be rejected.
Okay.
Why? Now, what's the idea behind it? Because the Vedas are the wisdom given by the Lord himself for us to live and to escape this material world. That's his foremost wisdom and knowledge for us. Like Buddha came and he established a religion. What religion? Of ahimsa. Ahimsa, of peace. He rejected scriptures. Now, in Dashavatar, anyways, I forgot the name of the author immediately. So in Jayadev Goswami, when he composed this beautiful Dashavata Stotram, there he sings the glories of different incarnation. Buddha's name is also mentioned, but you will never find Buddha's altar being kept in any Hindu temple. Why? Because he's the one who rejected scriptures. We accept him to be the incarnation of the Lord because the scriptures say so. But we do not follow his teachings because his teachings were against the scriptures. because his foremost teaching was reject scriptures. So it's a subject matter in itself, but as in precise, what is the source of our knowledge is what we need to figure it out. And accordingly, then rest of the foundation has to build up. Our source of knowledge is Bhagavad Gita, our source of knowledge is Vedic scriptures. And that is how we put our faith in what else comes after that. Now, my father had asked me when I decided to become a monk, he said, this institution is kidnapping you, because that's what in India people generally have fear. They're kind of kidnapping an educated young man and all that. And I challenged him. I said, well, I'm willing to agree what you say if I was surrendering to a man. I'm not surrendering to any man. The man who I'm surrendering is telling me to surrender to Krishna. Do you believe in Krishna? He said, yes. Do you believe in Bhagavad Gita? He said, yes. So now my joining brahmacharya ashram is also yes. The debate over. So that's the whole bottom line, So scriptures, we cannot put faith in scriptures. I mean, what else is there? So Arya Samaj, how it started, has its own history. I would request you to do your homework for that, to study how Arya Samaj started. Just like how Sikhism started, has its own history. And the history was of exploitation. Arya Samaj also had its own history. The Vedic scripture did not start it because of any history. Vedic scripture existed from the time of the creation. That's the point.
But Swami Vivekananda, who is the father of Arya Samaj, he himself says that if you are a true Hindu, you must go back to Vedas.
What Veda did he follow? You know what he says?
I am a half-learned person.
Anyways, I don't want to say anything on a public forum, which is being recorded. You can connect with the host. We can talk separately about Swami Vivekananda and Arya Samaj, and I'll tell you the history of it. I'm not saying I want to say anything controversial. That's not the point. I just want to tell you how it all began with, and what was the political reasons behind for us today's prominence in the culture. Do you know how this whole Ganesh Puja started? The Ganesh Visarjan? It was a whole political idea behind it. See, anything which takes a mass acceptability, we need to study, we need to look into the history of it. Now, okay, Ganesh Visarjan, all respect, wonderful. During Ganesh Chaturthi, hardly anyone remembers Ganeshi. None of the songs being played are all about Ganeshi, isn't it? I don't know if you're from Maharashtra or elsewhere. I've been living in Maharashtra for quite a few years now. The songs which are played on Ganesh Chaturthi, you wonder, it's some vague party is going on or what? There's nothing about Ganeshi. So what is this whole purpose of Ganesh Chaturthi and Visarjan that way? Anyways, in essence, I don't know if you could get some answer or not. Is that all right?
Yes.
We can again speak offline about it. You can connect with host, and then we can talk about it, or you can drop a question to the host. I can reply to it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Prabhuji, it's already 9 p.m. If you want to go ahead with the questions? There are 5 more questions I have in my list.
Okay, as long as you are fine to continue and the audience is fine to stay for some more time, I can stay, because you're coming to the conclusion of sessions. So I don't mind stretching for a while. I'm totally fine.
Okay. So next question is from Venkat Rajesh Prabhu. Venkat Rajesh Prabhu, if you are still online, can you switch on your camera and go ahead with the question?
Just a disclaimer, you don't have to necessarily switch on your camera. It should not happen that people are scared to ask a question. If I ask a question, I'll be asked to switch on my camera. It is just for me to connect with you. If not, you're fine to just speak up. Even if you don't want to speak up, you can put a question. That's all right.
Okay. So I can't see him online. Maybe he just dropped off. So we'll move to the next question. It's from Raman Grover. Raman Grover, you want to go ahead with your question?
Raman, we missed you yesterday. You bunked yesterday, huh?
Sorry.
No, I'm just joking.
Yes, Prabhuji, really very sorry to have missed the session yesterday. So I was actually engaged in some other activity. So
Correct.
today I made sure that I attend the class because I really like listening to your, all the wisdom and other knowledge. So my question is, Prabhuji, in fact, that is not related to Bhagavad Gita. In fact, this question is in general. Sometimes we are stuck in the past so much that we find ourselves difficult to get out of it and focus on the future. So could you please guide us how to train our mind so that we can deal with it? It's more of a mind management concept.
Actually, generally at the beginning stages, unless somebody is spiritually very strong, which takes a time, which takes a practice to help us become of a level of a stage or a stature where we can pull out ourselves from a situation which is dissolving our identity, where we forget what we are supposed to do and we get so much caught up with it. So in the beginning, or in fact, whoever we are, all of us, at all times, we need to have one good friend, one well-wisher with whom we can always go back, fall back, and have a discussion. What am I supposed to do? We call as out of the box. So when we are put into the box, like, into the situation, we are caught up with our own ideas. So we need some out of the box solution. And who can give us this out of the box solution? Who's actually out of the box? If somebody is with you in the similar situation, cannot give you the out of the box answer. So that's the reason the subject matter, this whole principle of guidance is so important. To have some genuine friend who is best, if is more spiritually advanced than us, then that person can really help us out to look through, to find a way through such situations that everyone faces. Like for Arjuna, regardless and despite of such a great, talented person, even he got into the box. Yes or no?
Yes,
and he
Prabhu.
needed Krishna's help to come out of the box situation. That's the point. So even Yudhishthira Maharaj would get bewildered so many times, and he would need help to come out of that situation. So whoever we are, we at all times need one genuine relationship of this sort, of an advanced spiritualist, more mature spiritualist who can help us.
Right.
And of course, we need to have our ongoing spiritual practice, which helps to cultivate sattva guna. The more we cultivate mode of goodness, to that degree, our discriminating power increases. To that degree, our ability to make decision improves. So that's a homework that you and I have to do at individual level. Along with that, we definitely need some genuine help, senior help, advice.
Prabhuji, yes, I really understood what you were trying to say. So do you think it's more of a thing related to emotional intelligence? If a person is more or less stuck in the past and not able to focus on the present or in the future, it's more of a question related to emotional intelligence.
Well, for certain situation, you can definitely say when we get stuck, many times is because of sentiments and emotions. I agree to that. Even Arjuna was because of that, no doubt about it, and which was there because of bodily identification. Thing is, it doesn't matter because of what we are stuck. When we are stuck, what matters is how do we come out of it? Yes or no?
Prabhuji. Yes,
When
Prabhuji.
somebody has got malaria, it is not so important to know which mosquito bit you. What is most important is to come out of that malaria. So how do we come out of the problem is what we discussed. And the point is the problems keep reoccurring. So I was trying to discuss on that direction rather than focus on the aspect of, is it because of emotions or not? Because ultimately we are conscious beings. Emotions are there,
Yes,
which we
Prabhuji.
cannot avoid. Yoga process is not to kill emotions. Yoga process is to evolve our emotions, solidify emotions with improving our discriminating ability. Okay.
Right, Prabhuji. In fact, Prabhuji, just one last thing I want to add. Sometimes I feel that if I'm facing any issue or problem today, after 1 year, if I go back to the same thing, if I look back, then that thing doesn't matter too much, right? I have full knowledge about it. Even then, I don't know it's by force or anything. Still, we are not able to resist that thing. I mean, we are always stuck in the mind. Even if we know that after 1 year, if I look back that event has no value at all. But even with all this knowledge, we find ourselves, you can say, always stuck in this position.
Yeah, that is correct. That is so true. That is what I said. Arjuna was asking Krishna in third chapter. I know this is not correct, but yet I'm forced to do it.
Yes, it's more by force of the nature. You are right.
And Krishna says, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samadhuha mahashano mahapapma vidyanami verima. Hey Arjuna, is because of the influence of Kama and Krodha, born of mode of passion ignorance. Which means when you're stuck in the situation, you have lost your touch with goodness, and now mode of passion and ignorance have become predominant.
Hmm.
So because of predominance of mode of passion and ignorance, you're not able to make decision. You're trapped.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And that's the point.
Hmm. Yes.
All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you so much,
Roman.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pallavi ji, if you are still online, can you ask your question?
Shikhar Prabhu, anyone else?
Yes, Prabhu. Okay. I don't see any response from Pallavi ji. Then I'm moving for the next is Sarita Reddy. Sarita Reddy ji. I can see in the chat. Sarita Reddy ji, you want to go ahead with the question?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Let me check. Everyone can unmute it. So if you are speaking on mute, you can unmute yourself. If not, then the last question is from Shweta ji. Shweta ji, you may want to go ahead and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, actually, this question is related to chanting. And as we had the session in which you had spoken and given the knowledge of Sato, Rajo, and Tamogun, all three modes. So I just wanted to ask you now, as I'm used to doing chanting in in the morning and in the evening. So is it preferable I should do the chanting only in the morning? That is, I usually tend to do it 16 malas a day. So should I just break it, or should I just do it in the early morning hours? Will that be fruitful, or the evening hours would be better?
If your question is what is best, Srila Prabhupada told us best is to chant in the morning hours. But best may not be always feasible, depending on your personal situation. Maybe you are a working woman, maybe you're a student, maybe a housewife, daughter, sister, whatever. Everyone may have a different situation. According to the situation that you are in, what you can do best is what you should try to do. If it facilitates for you to get up early in the morning and chant, that's fantastic. If not, then you can plan to design your day in such a way that you at least give priority to chanting. In a way, just as an example, I'm not indicating in your case because I don't know your case. Let's say you chant 8 rounds in the morning because you get 1 hour in the morning to be by yourself and chant. And then let's assume you're a working lady, you come back from office by 5 o'clock. Again, an assumption. And after coming back fresh, just refreshing yourself and everything, maybe before dinner you do 4 rounds, and the last 4 rounds you do after dinner, before you break out for your night rest or something. So like that you can plan out depending on how much time you have and what time of the day. If you can do in the morning, that is what Srila Prabhupada's recommendation was. But again, Srila Prabhupada said personal situation has to be considered. All right.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Pallavi, I see Is our host there? Okay, host is there. Okay. Shikarpu, I see Pallavi is saying something. Okay. Pallavi's question is answered. Fine. Shikhar, you just give them a right to unmute themselves. So if anyone has to say something, they may. Otherwise, we close for the day. It's already 9:15 now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I had asked a question on the chat that though you said that we are not the doers but the modes of material nature. If that is the case, why are we undergoing punishment?
Brilliant. Kalpana ji, are you joining us for Gita Essence program?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So I will answer this question in detail in the chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So which means if 9th we begin on the 14th of December, the session would be based on this question. Is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Actually, I had sent 2 more questions on reincarnation, for which I didn't get a reply. And
Oh, was it you who had messaged me?
yes, Prabhuji.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just didn't have any time. Okay. I saw the message. I just didn't have time to reply. I'll try to do it tomorrow. I'll do it. I'll send a reply to you tomorrow.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yes. Anushri, please start some classes for kids. Anushri, I guess the most classes I did for the kids this time, forever in my life. We still have kids. Jagannath, are you still there? By the way, how old is your kid?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay,
Prabhuji,
Jagannath.
I am at village.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So I guess Anushri, I don't know if she's there still. How old is your kid? Okay, I'm not sure if she's there or not. Fine.
Yeah, I was not able to hear anything due to technical issues.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is, I have don't know whether
You're too faint.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Who is speaking?
Yeah, I am Kamalika from Hinjawadi, Blue Ridge.
Yes, please.
Yes, Prabhuji, I have a request and a question. My request is that can you give a session for in parenting someday?
Okay.
And my question is regarding Krishna, that in yesterday's session we have learned that we all know that Krishna is such powerful, he is marvelous. But why at the end of the Mahabharata we see that he died just by an arrow of an hunter? Being such a powerful being, he has done so kind of lila, then why he died so easily?
Now, so brilliant question. I'm just thinking, should I answer it today or should I answer it in some session? But I guess for the rest of the month, there won't be any session for this topic. So let me just give a very quick answer for that. It's a brilliant question, no doubt about it. Now, this is how I like to take the definition of the Lord. Lord means there's nothing impossible. Now, Lord can do anything, whatever he wants. One thing that Krishna does all through his pastimes is to trick people out. Those who are atheists, he makes sure that they cannot approach him so easily. The very classic example that Jiva Goswami in one of his commentaries gives, I don't know if you are aware of this, but probably, your forefathers or your parents would be aware of it. In previous generations, we would have a big houses, which means the big terraces. And then there's crows, right? Kabutar is crows only, right? Or pigeon. The pigeon, they really do a lot of, no, that's not the pigeon, cow. That's a crow. The pigeon it passes a lot of stool, in other words. It makes place dirty very easily. So you know what previous generations would do? they would have one separate corner where they'll keep the food for the pigeon to come and eat. That way, the pigeon will come and be there and pass their stool and they'll fly away. They will not go and spoil the rest of the terrace. Similarly, Jiva Goswami explains in one of commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, similarly, Lord does things. Just like Lord Ram sending Mother Sita to the forest, certain things are always done by the Lord just to keep the doubtful, the agnostics, and the atheist away from the pure path of bhakti. So they don't come and unnecessarily contaminate the pure path of bhakti by spreading their stool all over the terrace. So that's how that's the one thing about it. Second, some say because Gandhari had cursed, so Lord just allowed that to happen also. And thirdly, the reason which is actually given is about from the previous Lord's incarnation. Anyway, there are more details to it. We can discuss some other time. But in essence, that was the way Lord wanted to conclude his pastime, so that those who continue to doubt him are empowered to continue to doubt him. Because Krishna is that same person who showed his Virat Roop. Who can kill Virat Roop? But again, Virat Roop in the form of Krishna disappeared in such a simple manner. So it needs some bhakti, it needs some conviction and knowledge to actually understand Krishna. Krishna says you can only understand through bhakti, not otherwise. So that's the point. We cannot take one isolated case to understand Krishna. If that is the case, Kamalika ji, think about how did Krishna ran away from battlefield from Jarasandha? Krishna is so powerful, why did he run away from Jarasandha? Like that, you can ask so many questions about Krishna's pastime. If Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why would you go and steal makhan from the house of the gopis? Isn't it? There's so many questions can be raised about so many subject matters in that manner. All right. So thank you all. I guess it's quite late, 9:20. It's going to be 2 hours almost. I guess we should pause for today. Shikhar Prabhu, is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
There is no more questions now, right?
Yes, no more questions.
Okay. And those of you who said start kids program, yes, we'll be resuming our kids program from 2021, because this program will continue until 27th. So we'll have that for sure. Thank you, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thanks
Hare.
everyone for joining.
Oh, Govinda.